Get some help, Sal D'Amato. Get some help, Ron McCarthy. Get some help, Jacob Montalvo. Why are you scoring that fight of Swanson? Get some help, Uncle Weezy. Fix your camera. Fix your camera. There you go. There you go. Where'd he go?
What the hell? Let me in.
There. Okay, he's in.
Welcome to Stat Diggers.
I'm the host. Come on. All right. Welcome to Stat Diggers. Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. We have a absolute fire card in UFC 292. Really looking forward to it. We have a great main event, Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley. And then on top of that, just an absolute fire co-main event. My favorite fight on the card. We got Zhang Weili going against Amanda Lemos. Battle of who has the best haircut. As always, I am here with our Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? And are you looking forward to UFC 292?
Yeah, it's a much higher level card than the one we had yesterday, but the one yesterday was a fun card because of all the finishes, because of all those first round finishes. And I think we're going to see a lot of similar situations on this one here too. I could see a lot of these fights ending violently. This main card is fire from top to bottom. And frankly, I mean, even the fights at the bottom of the card, you know, Lee Silva for the women's fight. We got Silva and Munhoz is another women's fight. Those are fantastic fights. And then the co-main is just awesome too. So 10 fights, really fired up for this card. It's a really, really good one.
Yep, it definitely is. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to breaking it down. Before we get into it, a couple things. I do want to shout out the Pub Sports Radio, the picks contest. And by the way, I logged in today. And I had no clue I had 2 wins. Look at that. I'm a winner, Uncle Weezy. 2 wins in the contest. I'm very, very proud of that. If you guys want to check it out, go to pubsportsradio.com. It's free to sign up. Go to the weekly UFC, either create an account or if you already have an account, log in. And each week it is $100. And I'd imagine this week, since it's a big card, maybe that might double. We'll see what happens throughout the week. But yeah, check it out. $100 to the winner. And yeah, 2 wins. I'm very, very proud of that. Brown belt, by the way. Brown belt. There we go. So maybe a black belt in the near future for me.
Well, yeah, once you get to 3 wins, you get a black belt, and you're just 1 win away, and you've already got piled up a ton of points, too. I have to see where I'm at there. I'm going to log in because I know I've missed a few of them, so I'm definitely lagging behind on points.
You'll catch up. Don't worry. But yeah, we'll do a quick recap of last night. I'll kick us off here, Uncle Weezy. I went plus 0 units. It was the first week in the last 5 years where I didn't have any bets on the card. It was a very chalky week. I think most of the outcomes that I thought were going to happen came through. But it was one of those weeks where it was like, I like McKinney under 1.5, but it's minus 300. I like Marcus McGee, but he's minus 400. I like the McGee fight doesn't go to decision, but it's minus 400. I like Amareem, but she's minus 250. It's one of those weeks where just everything was so chalky. So I'm fine with passing on it. I already have a lot of bets for this card, a lot of units on the line already. I did receive probably one of the stupidest comments I've ever received in my life, Uncle Weezy. And typically comments don't really get to me on YouTube. And it takes me a lot to block somebody. But somebody, after McKinney knocked out Mike Breeden, somebody commented on my video and said, and I quote, like, this was the easiest card to break down, unsubscribing, something like that. Like after the McKinney KO, like obviously that was, an easy outcome. So that kind of was like, what the heck is wrong? And he wasn't even subscribed to me in the first place. So not sure what's going on with some of these guys on YouTube, but they need to get it together. Uncle Weezy, I know you had a monster winning night. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just absolutely ran through the walls of the bookies, stole all of their money, up 0.3 units, Brady. Tore him a new ass out there. Had one bet on the over 4.5 rounds for 1 unit at plus 105. That was the main event. That one cruised over. I missed on my Jacqueline Amareem by first round submission bet. 3/4 of a unit, plus 200. God, was she close a couple of times there to the rear naked choke, to the arm bar, but did not happen. Up 1.05, down 0.75, up 0.3 units. Take that, bookies. Looking to keep the ball rolling this week. But unfortunately, Brady, you could stop pumping the fist because your Uncle Weezy forgot to track the bet that actually won.
That's so
So,
sad, man.
yeah, so it
That's so
shows me
sad.
down 0.75 units, but I mean, I know I hit the bet. I have the money to prove it, but either way, it was a very, very light week. I took the week off after Stat Diggers last week. Had some other things going on, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to this card here. I'm looking forward to breaking it down. Just fun fights from the very first one to the very last one. So I'm really looking forward to breaking it down with you. Everybody here on Pub Sports Radio, our Stat Diggers chat, looking forward to this.
Yeah, me as well. Before we get started, I do want to shout out the chat here. We got James, first one in the chat. We got Fred Erst, and you got to be careful with some of these names nowadays on YouTube. Like I know Dixon Cider, gets me every time, but they're getting a little sneaky with some of these names, so I got to be kind of careful reading some of these. But we got Rob in the chat, we got Swinger, we got Renee, we got Londo, we got Eli. I mean, somebody came in my chat the other day and just had a ridiculous name that would have probably gotten me taken off YouTube. So you got to be careful with some of these, man. We got Real Deal Prime in the building. We got our guy Mushroom. We got Propaholic. We got Victor de Jesus. High as F in the chat. PSSA. We got Dylan. We got Renee. We got MMA Jesus in the chat. We got my guy Lou Betcha, who, by the way, I did show Lou Betcha a little sneak peek, and I showed you as well, Weezy, of Singapore. I have a very special surprise locked and loaded for everybody. And we got Marcel in the chat. I see you. We got Alex Ramirez in the chat. I see you. We got Zen. Yes, Freak, Mr. Jingles. What is up, everybody? And yes, Large Connor. We heard that Mandy Bum, got cut, and Weezy is very happy about it.
Yeah, there's finally some justice in the world, Brady. We've been writing our congressman. I've been picketing outside of the state buildings here in Chicago. I've been trying to get cops to pull over to the side of the road and saying, is there anything that you can do? We, us taxpayers, we pay your salary, and you guys sit and allow Mandy Bum to be on the UFC roster while not using your guns and your nightsticks. We finally got it done, Brady. This is a win for the little guys here. This is a win for mixed martial arts fans. This is a win for the right thing happening here. And now the only next step, Brady, is to remake Ji-Yeon Kim versus Mandy Bum somewhere on the regional scene at a neutral location. Ji-Yeon Kim can put on those Cowboy Bob Orton knee sleeves, and Mandy Bum can go out there and cheat her ass off and pretend she got poked in the eye and shit. We need to see that fight again, just not in the UFC, for the love of God.
Yep, absolutely not. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, Weezy, I say we get right into it. So right now, tonight on a Sunday, we have only 10 fights to break down, Uncle Weezy. We're going to get the Bantamweight Ultimate Fighter matchup probably announced Tuesday night, which is, kind of annoying for us content creators, but we'll know about that matchup probably Tuesday night unless somebody leaks the information, which I was actually looking for, but, couldn't find anything. And then Mario Batista is out with an opponent at the moment. Was thinking about maybe he's getting a replacement here. Apparently, Randy Costa, threw his name into the hat, which, I'm not sure if they would sanction that fight. But I mean, I think it'd be a fun fight to watch for sure. But right now, just 10 fights, Weezy, right?
Just 10 as of right now, but I think we're definitely going to get an 11th with the Ultimate Fighter winner on Tuesday. And then also, like you say, if somebody's crazy enough to want a Batista fight on less than a week's notice, hell, let them go there, get their paycheck, get their ass whooping, and then cash that check.
Yep, we'll see. Shout out to Nigel for the dono. He says, see my last comment for my rant. And Nigel, there's like a million comments. So I'm scrolling and I don't see it. Did you see Nigel's rant comment?
I did not see it. Look.
I don't see it, Nigel. So if you could either copy and paste or retype it, or if it there was a swear word or something not allowed on YouTube, it probably doesn't even show up. So I think that might have been the case. So just try to
completely missed it. I don't see any other comments from Nigel at all except for the $5 donation.
Yeah, we appreciate the donation, but just try to type it again and don't use any vulgar language or something that YouTube will block out, because we don't do it. They do it. Sometimes we got to do it, but they do it for the most part. But yeah, appreciate you, Nigel. And then we got another one. We got Tony with the $9.99 saying, where in the world has this version of Martin Badai been? He even absorbed a spinning fat fist. Great line, Weezy, and shook it off like it was nothing. This version of Budai could be a problem, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. I said in my notes when I taped the fight, I said if Martin Budai wrestles, he looks minus 1,000. Fair enough, he got a takedown and starch Parisian. So if I knew for a fact he would have done that, got the fight down to the mat, I would have max bet Martin Budai. But that was the first takedown he ever got. So maybe he's learning a little bit, or maybe he heard our breakdowns.
Let's hope he heard him, because the guy could be so much better than what he is. He just seems to kind of like happy to fight his opponent's fight. And I don't even really want to give him credit for that takedown, Brady. I kind of feel like Parisian went for the takedown and he just kind of got the underhook and big brothered him and put him on his back, because once he did, it was over there shortly thereafter. And shout out to my guy J-Bone, who's in my Discord on my Patreon. He called Martin Budai by not just submission, but by Kimura. He said, I'm looking at a Martin Budai by Kimura bet at plus 3,500. He didn't pull the trigger. And he had Budai by submission. He had Amorim by KO. And he had those two parlayed with Damon Blackshear by decision. So he had like $5 to like win 1,000. If Blackshear hadn't submitted him and would have won a decision, the dude would have cashed on the most incredible parlay ever. And he actually called Budai by Kimura. It was some king shit.
Holy crap. I saw Pepe Silva called the Kimura as well. And then I saw Chicken Dinner bet the Kimura as well. So a couple people were on it. I'm not sure who was on it first, but great call, whoever was on it first. I mean, that's
fantastic stuff. I mean, to be betting somebody to win by submission who hasn't even attempted a takedown yet in the UFC is just so bold. I love it. I love it when people make those calls and hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with Lou here. I think Mario Batista versus Josh Parisian would be a very, very good fight. Wouldn't it? Would it not?
Parisian would just sit on him.
No, Batista would double leg him, take him down, and style on him. Come on, he's taking his ass down. You know for sure he is.
That would be like some of those old school UFC 3 fights where you have the big fat sumo wrestler against the little guy who just like dances around him for the whole time. Oh, it's great stuff.
Is this J-Bone the one that had the
yeah, that's J-Bone. That's it. Yep. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, man. He actually called it, and I mean, he was right on it.
Yeah, that was wild. I was not expecting Martin Budai sub, but I think we can move on to UFC 292. We're gonna kick it off with the lightweight Ultimate Fighter finale, and I'll say right off the bat, I got you, Nigel. I'll bring it up in a second, but I'll say right off the bat, I could not really care less about this Ultimate Fighter season. I watched the first couple episodes. I stopped watching. I just don't have a ton of interest in it. And then I don't have a ton of interest in this matchup. Like Austin Hubbard, like I don't recall ever seeing like an exciting Austin Hubbard fight. And, Kurt Holobaugh, somebody that, hasn't had the best record in the UFC at all. I think he's like 0-5 or something. So yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in this matchup or even the bantamweight matchup coming up. I think all the other fights on this card are amazing, but this was one that just doesn't really tickle my fancy. So we'll talk about it though. Austin Hubbard, 31 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach. Holobaugh, 36 years old, 5'11", 70-inch reach. We got Hubbard is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Sub loss against Selecki, decision win against Dakota Bush, decision loss against Vince Pichel, a decision win against Julian Lane, and a decision win against Keegan Agnew. As far as Kurt Holobaugh, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. It's been a while since we've seen him in the UFC, but his last couple UFC losses come against guys like Thiago Moises, Shane Burgos, Inhayani Barcelos. Weezy, take it away.
Yeah.
No. Take it away. Take this fight off the card. I don't really want to.
I can't do that, my friend. They're not letting your Uncle Weezy match make yet. And they, even more importantly, Brady, what I really want them to let me do is to be the guy who says, you know what? No, this fight, no. Just that's on LFA's next card. This one, you're going to go on UAE Warriors next card. We're just leaving you guys. But with this one, you got a couple guys trying to make it back now. But Kurt Holobaugh is 36 years old. Austin Hubbard's 31. And from what we saw from these guys on the show, what you're going to see out of Holobaugh is some pressure. He's going to force a fight. He's going to get in your face. He's going to walk forward, and he's just going to bring that fight to you. With Hubbard, you got a guy with really good conditioning who's got good volume. He's got solid wrestling, and he can go the full 3 rounds, and he's going to be a minute winner. This is a guy who 12 of his 21 professional fights have went to decision, and he's won 8 of them. So, you could see he's the much better minute winner by looking at those records in decisions there. 8-4 for Hubbard in his career, 3-5 for Holobaugh. Holobaugh was really getting worked on the Ultimate Fighter in his first fight against Connor's protege, but he wound up getting I think it was a guillotine in the second round. I forget if it was a guillotine or not, but he kind of was getting his ass whooped and then wound up pulling one out of his ass. And Hubbard looked solid on the Ultimate Fighter, got his second win against Roosevelt Roberts, a quality opponent, very close fight. I felt like it could have went either way. But I think that Hubbard would be a good decision only prop. Kurt Holobaugh would be a good finish only prop. Holobaugh is just the better finisher. He's the guy that brings more of the fight, while Hubbard's a guy that's going to try to win chunks of minutes with his wrestling and also with his volume and striking. I'm definitely leaning Hubbard here. I don't know if Holobaugh has what it takes to because Hubbard's a really tough dude. And I think when Holobaugh is doing his best work, he's going out there and finishing guys. So, I feel like this is going to be Austin Hubbard by decision, but the bookies are kind of onto it. Neither one of these guys has any impressive wins at the UFC level because Holobaugh never won, and Hubbard's 3 wins are over guys in the UFC who have a combined 0-5 record. So, neither one of these guys really has any impressive wins up at this level. So I think it's going to probably be a pretty close fight, but I'm leaning Hubbard by decision here.
Austin Hubbard is sitting at -190, and Kurt Holobaugh is sitting at +165. It did open up a straight pick, and my monies came in on Austin Hubbard there. So the over-under is set at, and this surprised me, we talked about it earlier, the over-under is set at 1.5, and the over 1.5 is like -210. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I lean over, I lean Hubbard, but like I said, a fight that doesn't really tickle my fancy at all.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at these guys' average fight times in the UFC. Kurt Holobaugh just under 11 minutes, and Hubbard it's almost 13 minutes. So to get a over under set at 1.5 minute at 1.5 rounds doesn't make a lot of sense here. Definitely, even at -205, Brady, I think that's a plus EV bet on the over 1.5 rounds here. But dude, the one thing I'm not doing is laying -190 on Austin Hubbard. He's just not good enough anywhere to warrant that, other than, I think he's probably got a really big conditioning advantage because his conditioning is always on point. But other than that, I think Holobaugh's on his level just about everywhere, except for he's just the older fighter is Holobaugh.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I wish. So who were these other lightweights on the card? Wasn't there like Roosevelt Roberts? I like Roberts a lot. I wish he would have been in the finale. And then there's some other one I like, but yeah, I mean, this is like the matchup I'm like least looking forward to, like possibly making. So, and then I like as a bantamweight, I like Tamir Valiev. He's not going to be in the finale. I guess it's Katona versus somebody. So yeah, I'm just not looking forward to this. And then by the way, the last Ultimate Fighter we had, wasn't that the Juliana Miller card?
Yeah, Juliana Killer Miller, Brady.
I mean,
the killer of bets, Juliana Miller. Wow, man. I mean, and I was thinking about this one yesterday, Brady. How bad is Brogan Walker Sanchez? Because, I mean, Juliana Miller dog walked her and absolutely destroyed her so easily to the point where she was -400 against Veronica Hardy. And then she goes in there and loses pretty convincingly to Hardy. And then she just got her. I mean, she got destroyed out there on Saturday. That was an ass whooping. Killer Miller got absolutely killed. And boy, yeah, that face took a beating, an absolute beating. It got pounded into a pudding on Saturday.
Yeah, it was actually crazy. I was actually tempted to bet Miller like last Monday, and then the more I thought about it, the more I thought how stupid that sounds. And then she weighed in; it looked horrible, and I'm like begging people not to bet Miller on my betting breakdown video. And shout out to Dixon. Dixon Sider called it. Dixon Sider definitely called it. He called the OnlyFans fade. Juliana Miller has that OnlyFans, and maybe she's focusing more on that nowadays. And apparently, it is some nude on there as well.
I mean, God bless anybody that watched that and lived.
Well, I watched what?
Saw the pictures of the OnlyFans. I would not want to see that, man. Not for me.
It's better than on Jessica Andrade.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. yes, it is better than just.
I mean, it's kind of like choosing between the gas chamber and the electric chair, I mean, one might be better than the other, but like neither one of them is a particularly, enticing option is what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, like, look, that's just rough. But what's even rougher was the performance in the cage that she put on. That was really rough.
Yeah, I think you need to. Okay. Dixon said it was fire. Or you said somebody else's OnlyFans was fire. But yeah, Dixon is the OnlyFans expert, and I'm sure I will defer to him in the next matchup, actually, because we do actually have an OnlyFans Weezy in the very next matchup. So
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So let's get on to it then. Here we go. So now we have Karina Silva going against Marina Moroz. I'll let you guys guess which one of these ladies have that OnlyFans. Is it the afro of Karina Silva, or is it the muscle of Marina Moroz? So Karina Silva, she is 29 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. Marina Moroz, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. We got Silva 2 years younger, Moroz with a 2-inch height advantage. Karina Silva is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She had a Contender Series win against. I got to be careful with what I say. I'll just what's her name or what's his name? I mean, her name. What's
the Chinese dude?
Yeah,
that was Yan Shi Shi.
I gotta bring up a picture of Yan Shukui, which I don't think that's how it's pronounced, but close enough. Anyway, she beat him. I mean, her by submission, and then she submitted Poliana Botelho, and then she submitted Ketlin Souza. As far as Marina Moroz, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision loss against Angela Hill, decision win against Sabina Mazo, decision win against Mara Bueno Silva, a submission win against Maria Agapova, and a decision loss against Jennifer Maia. So this is actually a rematch. These fighters did fight about 8 years ago, so I don't think we could take too much from that matchup. For what it's worth, Moroz did go out there and submit Karina Silva in the first round. I think both these fighters are very, very dangerous on the mat. I think on the feet, both fighters, I mean, mostly Karina Silva definitely does leave a lot to be desired. She's very low volume, but when she does land, she lands with a lot of power, but she's super hittable. Probably the worst striking defense on paper you'll ever see. I think it's like 26% at distance for Karina Silva there. Yeah, she kind of reminds me a lot of like Poliana Viana, where she is going to be a minute loser. She's never won a decision, and I don't really see her winning a decision in the UFC. If she's winning fights, it's typically by finish, and it's typically in the first round. I do have some concerns if a fight does reach the second round for Karina Silva. We saw her reach the second round in that Yan Chuaki fight on the Contender Series, and she did look, visibly very tired. But luckily, she was able to get a submission early second round there, so we didn't really get to see it play out much longer than that. So I think if you like Silva, I think first round prop could be something to really look at. But as this fight goes on, I think Moroz is going to be the much, much fresher fighter. And I'm kind of leaning Moroz late finish. But what I like more than anything is violence here. Karina Silva has been to the third round once in the last 10 years. And I'm not the best at math, but 10 years is a lot, Uncle Weezy. So I think the under is something to look at. I think she's only been over 2.5 rounds, maybe once in her career. So I'm looking at violence. And if this line gets any more crazy, I'm probably looking at Moroz just because she should be the clear minute winner wherever this fight goes. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is such a good fight. I mean, anything with Karina Silva is going to be an amazing fight. I love watching Karina Silva fight. She's fantastic. And Moroz has been really, really good at flyweight, everybody. The wins over Mazo, over Mayra Bueno Silva, over Maria Agapova, all really good wins. Had a tough stylistic matchup against Jennifer Maia. This fight won't be anything like the Jennifer Maia fight. Jennifer Maia is a fantastic minute winner. She finishes nobody. And with Silva, it's the exact opposite. Silva is very easy to find on the feet. Silva is very inaccurate. Oh, God. If you guys have ever, Brady, you ever see the movie Bloodsport with
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't she look exactly like Chong Li from
Yeah.
Bloodsport?
Yep.
You remember that, dude? Frank
Yeah.
Dukes, Chong Li we had those big pectoral muscles and those giant traps. And you look at the trapezius muscles on this dude, they're absolutely huge. Former Olympic weightlifter, Yan Ki. And that's a yeah, there it is. Huh? Bolo Young, ladies and gentlemen, veteran character actor of martial arts movies in China. You gotta love him. He's and I mean, like you look at they're virtually identical.
They are. Gosh. Oh,
Look at
there's a
that.
side view. A side view.
Yeah, the side view. At least there's less to look at with the side view. My God. Oh boy. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, that was a great fight. Jan took down Karina, had some success on top of Karina. She's so dangerous from her guard. She's so dangerous really from everywhere. How she just kind of popped Sosa's knee right out of the socket was pretty nasty in the last fight. Karina Silva doesn't just beat you, she sends you to the hospital. She broke City Roach's arm in half. She tore up Simone de Silva's knee in a knee bar. Ketlin Souza, knee bar. She's breaking girls' faces in half. This is not a girl you want to lose to. But Morose has looked very good. I think she's going to be the better wrestler. I think she's definitely the better boxer. She's going to be a little bit more defensively sound, as we can see that Silva couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. 20% distance striking accuracy and 27% distance striking defense. So I do think that Morose wins this fight. And I think that she could actually get a finish here if this goes to the ground. Morose is very tricky with her submissions as well. And she's really good at getting to the back of her opponent. And when she does that, there's always the potential for a rear naked choke. So I have 2 bets on this fight, Brady. I got 1 unit on the Marina Morose money line at plus 150. And I've got 1 unit on the under 2.5 rounds at plus 110. I figure, if Silva wins, it's going to be a finish. And if Morose wins, it could be a finish, but I think it would most likely be a decision where she maybe gets a couple takedowns, wins some minutes in the clinch, wins some minutes on the ground, and does the better work at distance striking range. So great fight. 2 really talented flyweights here. And we got 2 more really talented flyweights in the next fight.
Yep, let's take a look at where the line is at currently. We have looks like Silva minus 174, and then Marina Morose plus 149. So yeah, it's a dogger pass for me. If you like Silva, like I said, I think the first round prop could be something to look at because she is very, very, very dangerous early on.
Oh, she's very dangerous at any point in the fight. If she gets a hold of something, she's gonna try to rip it off. And when she does land, it's nasty when she does land. I mean, it's like 1 or 2 out of 10 times when she does land, but when she does and she plants her feet, she throws with conviction. So yeah, I think somebody's gonna get served in this fight.
Yeah, I see it the same way. Silva early, Morose late. But Morose did sub her in the first round in their last fight, but a lot has changed since then. All right, Dixon has given us no info on the OnlyFans, and I was going to pull up a Marina Morose hype video, but I think it would probably get taken off YouTube because she posts some wild stuff on Instagram. Like, why sign up for her OnlyFans whenever her Instagram is looking like an OnlyFans on there? So I don't know what's going on with Morose, but it's wild on there, Weezy.
Well, the UFC doesn't pay fighters a lot. So, I'll bet you Morose makes a ton more money on her OnlyFans or whatever she's selling out there on the internet than she does fighting. And she doesn't show up a lot to fight. So she better be making money out there.
Yeah, I bet she is. So I want to pull this up before we forget. Appreciate you, Nigel Lee, for another dono. So it probably didn't show up originally because of the POS thing. But he says, again, I will no longer bet any fights Sal D'Amato is judging. That POS has cost me over 10K in winning. And last night, the Wadu robbery was another. Weezy, we've touched on judging a lot on the show. Obviously, a very questionable decision, to say the least, last night. Any thoughts on the judging? We talk about it pretty much every week. Any thoughts on the judging?
Yeah, a questionable unanimous decision this time. And I wouldn't, when we were doing the watch along on Pub Sports Radio, I said, you guys, I got a bad feeling about this one. You know, after the fight was over, while we were waiting for the decision, I said, I got a bad feeling that they're going to give this to Swanson because it's his retirement fight. And, you know, it was kind of close, but I kind of felt like Dawodu won those first and second rounds pretty cleanly. And you won't find me defending Sal D'Amato very often, but just to be clear on this one, Brady, you can't hang it all on Sal because it was a unanimous decision where Ron McCarthy, who is also a complete bum when it comes to judging fights, and then who else was it? It was
Cleary, Derek Cleary.
No, it wasn't that bum. It was Jacob Montalvo. Was Montalvo the bum that didn't see the headbutt? Or no, that's Dan Mulvaheady. That was Dan Mulvaheady. So Mulvaheady's a bum too. But I don't like Montalvo because he's the referee who winds up just stepping in and stopping control time positions when he gets a little bit bored. So yeah, there's a lot of bums out there, Brady, and they cost us gamblers a lot of money with their decisions. And that one was no different. That one was just a bad decision, in my opinion. You know, I mean, it was kind of close, but I thought that was a clear 29-28 for Dawodu.
Yeah, we've seen worse decisions, but yeah, that was probably the wrong person won the fight. And a lot of people got affected by it too. Like I had a bunch of people say that, you know, Dawodu losing cost them like their 12-leg parlays, which I didn't know a lot of people did 12-leg parlays, but apparently a lot of people do, and apparently it cost them. So that sucks. It sucks when the judges rip it out, rip the ticket right out of your hands, and it happens all the time, though.
It does in this sport. You know, we gotta overcome it. And yeah, I mean, 12-leg parlays are minus EV. Everybody knows that.
Nothing's wrong with sprinkling like a couple bucks on it, but yeah,
sure,
they're hard to hit. Speaking of bum, who's the bum? Who's the bum?
Speaking of bum, oh, well, I mean, you know, yeah, D'Amato is a bum, and Ron McCarthy's a bum. Jacob Montalvo, not as much of a bum as Ron McCarthy. I mean, at least, you know, Ron McCarthy's there because his dad is Big John. You know, I mean, he's like the dumbass kid that won't be able to get a job anywhere. But hey, you know, your dad's Big John, so they'll hook you up with a gig. You know, it's like that dumb kid who's like, okay, boss, and they'll do whatever you tell them to do because they don't have a mind of their own and they wouldn't be able to make it on their own.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That bum has cost me so much money. He's one of the pricks that had Paddy Pimblett beating Jared Gordon. Ron McCarthy, ladies and gentlemen, terrible MMA judge.
Who was the judge that scored the fight for Felder against RDA? Was that Sal? Was that our buddy Sal?
I believe that was Sal. That might have been Sal. I know that Sal had Jack Hermanson beating Sean Strickland 48-47. We know that our Uncle Sal also had Macy Barber beating Miranda Maverick, which was a pretty clear Maverick win. I mean, Sal has had many piss poor decisions, you know. And I mean, like, it's not, it's different people every week. If it's not Sal, it's Adelaide Bird. If it's not Sal or Adelaide Bird, it's that bum Derek Clearly. If it's not any of those three morons, then they'll bring in Chris Lee, you know? And then when Chris Lee isn't available to screw us, they'll bring in Big John's retarded son, Ron, to go in there and screw us. It's just, it never ends. And I feel for Nigel Lee.
Yeah, so I have a thing that I think might help these judges, and I'm not joking. I'm being serious because when I went to the UFC 290, Weezy, I spent a lot of money on alcohol. I'm not going to say which alcohol it was and what brand because I'm not going to get scolded again. But you know, I spent a lot. I probably spent $200 on alcohol. I was drinking heavily throughout the fights, and I was like $200 deep in booze, right? And then I'm watching the co-main event. And, you know, I think the crowd had a lot to do with it because everybody's rooting for Brandon Moreno, right? And I actually scored the fight for Brandon Moreno. And keep in mind, I was very, very intoxicated. And I think we need to breath analyze these judges. I think these judges are showing up and they're drunk because I scored, I think I had like 3-2 or 4-1 even. Moreno, it was a horrible scorecard on my part. but I was like very, very, very intoxicated. So I think these judges are showing up drunk. We've seen some refs, Keith Peterson show up drunk before. I think if we breath analyze some of these guys, I think we might see better results. I really think that's what it might be.
Yeah,
it's hard to score a fight drunk. It is.
I mean, it's hard to do a lot of things drunk, man. I mean, I'm living proof of it, failure is right around the corner when you're drinking. So yeah, man. I mean, like it should be like pretty self-explanatory. Hey, don't come to work drunk. We kind of need you sober. But in some cases, getting a Machado or Lee drunk might help things. Who knows?
Maybe, but I just thought that was funny. And yeah, it was like $19, man.
That's unbelievable.
It was ridiculous. But all right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Andrea Lee going against Natalia Silva. We got Andrea Lee, 34 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Natalia Silva, 26 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. We got Andrea Lee, who is 8 years older, but has a 2-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Andrea Lee is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win to a decision loss against Roxanne Modafferi, a submission win against Antonina Shevchenko, a knockout win against Cynthia Calvillo, a decision loss against Viviane Araújo, and then a decision win against Macy Barber where the judges got it wrong. As far as Natalia Silva, she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Jasmine Jazz Vicious. I was actually at that fight. She won by decision. She knocked out Teresa Bleda in the 3rd round, and then she knocked out the poor Victoria Leonardo brutally in the 1st round. So, yeah, we have a massive, massive line here on Natalia Silva, and I think Silva's great. Like, I remember taping Silva before the Jazz Vicious fight and thinking, she's not all that. And then she showed up against Jasmine Jazz Vicious and looked like a completely different fighter. I think she took like 2 or so years off, prior to that. She showed up and I'm like, who the heck is this? That's not who I watched on tape at all. Her takedown defense looked elite. Her striking looked very good. She was landing with power. I think Natalia Silva, made massive improvements, and she's still only 26 years old. So we're still going to see, massive jumps and improvement from Natalia Silva each and every time she steps in the cage. She looked like an absolute killer against Victoria Leonardo, which, it's not that impressive, but she went out there and handled her accordingly. As far as Andrea Lee, I think she's very, very underrated. I think she's a very well-rounded fighter. Her striking is very good, lots of volume, sneaky power as well, and very good offensive wrestling. Defensive wrestling is not great. She can't be taken down, but offensively, she's able to get fights down to the mat. I think this fight is a lot closer than the line does indicate. I think in terms of like the numbers, they could be pretty competitive here, but I think it's going to be Natalia Silva who's going to be landing the much harder shots, the more damaging shots, whereas Andrea Lee, she can put up a lot of volume, but the power is clearly in favor of Silva here. On top of that, I'm not sure if Andrea Lee is going to be able to take down Natalia Silva, whose takedown defense just looks phenomenal, sitting at 93% at the moment. So I lean Natalia Silva, but this price tag is not really something I want to get involved in. It looks like she's sitting, holy crap, -350 Natalia Silva. I like her to win, but I don't like her to win that much.
Dude, she's really good, dude. Natalia Silva is going to be a serious problem in the women's flyweight division. Her striking is excellent. And I mean, it's one thing to have 93% takedown defense, but this is 93% takedown defense against Jasmine Jazz Vicious, Teresa Bleda, and Victoria Leonardo. 3 grapplers, 3 grapplers that sell out for the grappling. So she's stuffing takedowns from the top grapplers, that you're going to see coming into the division, with your first 3 fights. So really good job there for Natalia. And she's so hard to find because her footwork on the feet is so good. She's so elusive. She moves so well. 52.5% distance striking accuracy, 69% distance striking defense. But, we have to take it for what it's worth. Jasmine Jazz Vicious, Teresa Bleda, and Victoria Leonardo are 3 of the worst strikers in any division in the entire UFC. You could give Jazz Vicious a tennis ball, stand her 5 feet away from the Great Wall of China, and she'd miss. She wouldn't be. I'm telling you, she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat, just like Bleda, just like Leonardo, right? But this is Andrea Lee this time. This is going to be a different story. Andrea Lee's landed 573 distance strikes in the UFC. She's very busy. She's accurate in her own right. She's very defensively responsible in her own right, throwing almost 16 distance strike attempts per minute, the same as Silva. It's just that this is going to be the best striker by a country mile that Natalia Silva has seen at the UFC level thus far. And Lee's been pretty easy to take down, but I don't know if we're going to see Natalia necessarily grapple here. And if this fight stays on the feet, I think it's probably going to play out fairly close. I'm leaning Silva. I think her footwork's better. I think she's faster. And I think like you said, Brady, she's the more likely person to land a big shot, to land a knockdown. And I'm not really seeing her get tired either. Her pacing's fantastic. So I lean Silva here. I'm going to pick Natalia Silva to win the fight, but I just can't get to this. What, minus 350 you said on the money line?
Yeah, minus 350. Imagine laying minus 350 on Natalia Silva, and it ends up being a lot closer than the line does indicate. And maybe she wins the fight, but maybe it goes to the judges. And imagine holding a minus 350 ticket, and you hear Sal D'Amato scores the fight, 29-28, Andrea Lee.
Yeah.
And Derek Clearly scores the fight for your winner, Andrea Lee. Oh, robbery.
Yeah.
Natalia Silva ruined the parlay. Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. But yeah, Silva should win the fight. It's just this price tag is not something I really want to get involved in. Maybe I wouldn't parlay it, but a lot of people are. So I think she gets the job done at the end of the day. I think she wins, but it's just not something I would do personally.
Yeah, I'm not laying minus 350 on women, period. Even Zhang Weili, she's got a much better opponent than what you're normally going to see a minus 350 favorite fighting against. So it's very hard to lay that kind of juice in women's MMA, especially because women's MMA goes to the scorecards at about a 10 to 15% rate higher than men's MMA does.
Yeah, exactly. I think Lee gets has Lee ever been KO'd? Maybe
never. Nope. She's been subbed once in 7 losses, never been KO'd in her career, and never even been dropped in the UFC.
Yeah, so I don't know about that. I mean, Andrea Lee is definitely not Victoria Leonardo. Rick the Ruler brings up the over 2.5 minus 200. Not terrible. It's not terrible for a fight. Like I think it goes to decision more often than not. I know, Silva's looked like a killer, but I mean, everybody can look like a killer against Victoria Leonardo. So
yeah,
even Mandy Bum was kind of competitive with Leonardo at one point.
Yes, she was actually. I mean, I bet Leonardo in that fight, but it was a fairly close fight. I mean, it wasn't like Leonardo ran away with it by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I mean, we can't take too much from the Leonardo win, but damn, those Bleda and Jazz Davicius wins, both of those girls are young. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Bleda's very young. Jazz Davicius is a phenomenal wrestler. Natalia has shown that she's comfortable wherever the fight goes and has the fight IQ to know where she's got the advantage.
Yep, for sure. What about Killer Miller? And by the way, let's stop calling her. I already said it last week. Let's stop calling her killer. I mean, there's no killer that goes out there and looks like that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually picked Killer Miller to win. I felt like a jerk. I got to tell you, she got her face boxed in, man. I mean, like she doesn't look like she's ever struck before. She stands so square. Nobody that's a good striker just stands square and gives you that much area to hit. And she just got her face boxed off.
Oh, no. You could see her like in a horror movie. Maybe being like a killer in a horror movie because she does look terrifying in this picture.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Those sunken eyes, that vacant stare, and then the mouth guard never helps. That's not her fault, Yeah,
so maybe she can star in the next Conjuring or something. But let's move on to the next fight. We have a very good fight, Weezy. We have Andre Petroski going against Gerald Meerschaert. We got Petroski, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. Gerald Meerschaert, 35 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Petroski, 3 years younger with a 1-inch height disadvantage and a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Petroski is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Michael Gilmore and won that fight by knockout. He submitted Zhang, who is going to. I miss Zhang. I wish they would bring him back and sign him again, but that's not. I think he's like 3-3, so that's probably not going to happen. But shout out to Zhang. He submitted Nick Maximov, very good win there, and then he went out there and beat Wellington Turman by decision. As far as Gerald Meerschaert, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Makhmud Muradov, phenomenal win. Good win against Dustin Stoltzfus. Decision loss against Krzysztof Jotko. very good win against Bruno Silva, and then a knockout loss against Joe Pyfer. So I believe both Petroski and Joe Pyfer train at Renzo Gracie Philly, so teammates. And I kind of expect Petroski to maybe go out there and try to implement the same game plan of Pyfer, and that is to probably try to take off the head of Gerald Meerschaert early. The thing with Gerald Meerschaert, Weezy, is he's one of those guys that you'll never see Gerald Meerschaert as a favorite, really ever. Like, I wish I knew the stats for it, but this guy's always a dog. He's always getting counted out because it's really hard to pick him in fights because he's going to be losing the entire fight up until his opponent either gasses out or makes one mistake, and one mistake against Gerald Meerschaert is really all it takes. I have some concerns about this price tag of Petroski. I think he has, opportunities to finish Meerschaert. But as this fight goes on, Petroski definitely does slow, and he's one of those guys that can fight through it. But he's able to fight through it against guys like Michael Gilmore and that bum, Zhang. I mean, if he slows down and makes a mistake against Meerschaert like he did in the Brian Battle fight on the Tough House when he got submitted in the second round, like Meerschaert's a guy that can just come back from the dead, man. So, laying this price on Petroski is not something I really want to do at all. And if anything, I might be taking a look to sprinkle something, late props for Gerald Meerschaert because they're always live. I mean, this guy, how many third round submissions does Gerald Meerschaert have? Probably a ton in his career. This guy has like 25, 26 wins by submission. Like, it's ridiculous. So for Petroski to win this fight, he's going to have to either A, knock him out early, submit him early, or B, just fight a perfect game plan across 15. So Weezy, really curious to hear your thoughts on this matchup. It's a very good one.
Yeah, when I saw the line, I was kind of surprised because, I mean, yeah, Petroski's 3 years younger. He's fresher faced at this point. The guy's only been a professional for 4.5 years. So, we know that he's kind of like on the come up, but he's really not that much younger than Gerald Meerschaert, only 3.5 years younger than him. And then you look at the experience. Gerald Meerschaert has 41 more professional fights. He's got 250 more minutes in the cage. He's got 14 more fights at the UFC level, almost 100 more minutes in the UFC cage. And he's got 100% finish rate at the UFC level. He's finished 33 of his 35 professional wins, and he's got 27 professional wins by submission. And the thing about Meerschaert is that his striking is kind of serviceable for this level, but he's pretty durable, dude. So he kind of just he kind of sucks you into these wars. You make one mistake, and then the guy's on your back and he's choking you out. I mean, and it just happens so fast. And man, if we haven't seen Andre Petroski fade late in fights before, that's a very, very bad thing to do against a guy like Meerschaert, who knows exactly how to find these little pockets, those little mistakes that his opponents make. And he's got such a huge experience advantage here. He's got such a huge strength of schedule advantage here. And there's really not a lot of evidence to suggest that Petroski's that much better of a striker, right? So why? This guy's minus 250 because he trains with a guy that beat Meerschaert? No, Petroski's very good. I mean, I don't think the guy's a bum at all. I kind of see a 3.5-year younger version, less experienced version of Gerald Meerschaert here. And when I see grappler versus grappler or striker versus striker, unless the level in the striker versus striker is so massive, that's not this, man. I mean, it seems like there's a ton of value here on Meerschaert, and I think it's because people don't realize that Petroski's not 28. Okay? He's 32 years old. He's much less experienced. He's fought the much worse brand of competition in comparison to Meerschaert here. So this line doesn't make a lot of sense to me, dude.
Nope. And I think Mushroom in the chat said it. Death, taxes, and GM3 sub 3 is it's always so loud. I remember the Giles fight, the Bruno Silva fight, the Stoltz fist. I mean, this guy subs people in round 3 like it's his job, man. So Miradov, I think it was round 2. I think it was round 2.
Was it round 2? Damn it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why we sprinkle the round 2 and 3 though. We got to do both.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Zhang Hu is a true BMF. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, dude, he's getting that belt. He's coming for that belt. He's cutting to 155. You didn't hear that?
No,
He's
dude. I need
you next.
I need to see a Zhang Hu hype video. I mean, that would pump me the heck
Isn't
up.
there one with like some Mongolian throat singers? I mean, I don't tell me I dreamed that, because if I dreamed that, I got to go check myself into the funny farm right now. But I'm pretty sure that there was a Hu Yazong hype video with Mongolian throat singers, and Mongolian throat singers are badass. That is some underrated music right there.
Yeah. And there was this one song that he came out to. It's like, ho, 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 ho. I think it's called like the Who or something. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty badass, right? I mean, like, you'll get slapped for, I mean, those Mongolians are tight on their copyright restrictions, though. So, I mean, you can't play that here. Otherwise, we'll get slapped. And those guys are huge in Mongolia.
Yeah, they definitely are. All right. So let's see. We got Petroski. It looks like money is coming in on Meerschaert. So Petroski was sitting around minus 280. Now he's back to minus 227, and then Meerschaert plus 192. Meerschaert still sitting at plus 220. Yeah, I think it's a clear dog or pass. Could Petroski knock him out potentially? But I think as this fight goes on, I think Meerschaert's going to have some opportunities here.
Yeah, I mean, Petroski's got 4 knockouts in his professional career, but I mean, they're not really on the feet, are they? I mean, the guy's never even dropped anybody in the UFC. And Meerschaert's like Homer Simpson, for Christ's sake. You remember when Muradov was just like, like landing on him for the first 7.5 minutes of that fight, and Meerschaert just walked through it, dude. Ate them all like flapjacks. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out. But yeah, I mean, I think Petroski probably gets the job done, but at plus 220, I think Meerschaert can win this fight 4 out of 10 times.
Yep, it's hard to ever count Meerschaert out of a fight, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy, you could be sitting there saying you made a bad bet 12.5 minutes into the fight, 13 minutes into the fight, you're cashing your ticket at plus money. Daryl's done it over and over and over again.
Happens all the time. All right. So yeah, that fight should be awesome. This next fight should be pretty awesome as well. We got Gregory Rodrigues versus Denis Tiuliulin. We got Gregory Rodrigues, who's a liar. I mean, he's clearly lying about being 31 years old. We've talked about this time and time again. I'm not sure what's up with these liars lately. I think there was a liar last week as well, but these guys just continue to lie. Like we always bring up the Jairzinho Rozenstruik, right? He says he's 6'2", and I mean, I need to make a petition. Jairzinho Rozenstruik's not 6'2". He's like 5'9", 5'10". I mean, that guy is one of the biggest liars in the UFC. So hopefully we get that all settled out. But yeah, Rodrigues is clearly lying. He's like 38 or 9. But Rodrigues, he's 31 years old, is 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Denis Tiuliulin, 35 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Denis is 4 years older, which again is a lie. He's a 2-inch height disadvantage and then a 2-inch reach advantage. Gregory Rodrigues is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Jung Park, a decision loss against Armin Petrosian, a knockout win against Julian Marquez and Chidi Njokuani, and then a knockout loss against Bruno Ferreira. As far as Denis Tiuliulin, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Kisraev, lost by second-round sub. He knocked out Jamie Pickett in the second round, and then he got submitted in the first round by Jung Park. And I think Rodrigues, so Rodrigues is a massive, massive favorite. And no, he's 5'7", not 6'7". Let's set the record straight. So yeah, this is a guy in Rodrigues who I think can go out here and look minus 10,000 if he grapples. I mean, Denis Tiuliulin, what he's good at is brawling, making it a war, making it a slugfest. He has a 90% finish rate, all by knockout. That's literally his game. He's going to stand and bang with you. He has some power, and he can knock you out. Denis Tiuliulin has probably one of the worst, if not the worst, ground games in the UFC. He made Jung Park look like Khamzat Chimaev out there. I mean, Jung Park got on top of him, and it looked like that was the first time, Denis was ever on his back yet. He had no idea what to do. Park dominated him and finished him easily in the first round. Gregory Rodrigues is a high-level black belt, but he just doesn't go to it enough as he should. And when he went to it, his grappling looks slick, man. I mean, the back take he had in the first round against Jung Park a couple fights ago was nasty. And if he takes his fight down to the mat, I think he absolutely styles on Denis Tiuliulin and gives him his 5th submission loss. So, but it's hard to trust him. It's hard to trust Rodrigues to go out there, get the fight down to the mat and fight smart, because this is a guy that, like Denis, he likes to stand and bang. He likes to make fights exciting, but his chin's not great. This guy has been knocked out like 2 or 3 times at this point. He's getting hurt in every single fight. He got hurt bad in the Chidi fight. He got hurt bad in the Park fight. So I mean, if Gregory Rodrigues was smart at all, he probably gets his fight down to the mat. So I'm kind of hoping it's kind of the Martin Buday situation where, Martin Buday watches tape on Parisian. He's like, oh yeah, he sucks on the mat. I'm hoping Rodrigues, comes in here with the game plan of, take this guy down and you style on him. So give me Rodrigues. I'll say first round sub, but I'm not sure I can completely trust him when we're talking about minus 360.
Yeah, it is, because the Gregory just loves to scrap, dude. I mean, he goes into fights where you think he would grapple and he just doesn't. He just loves to stand in front of dudes and throw hands, and he loves to throw down. He's in exciting fights. It's the way that this dude fights. I mean, his average fight time as a professional is 6.61 minutes, and in the UFC, it's 8.7 minutes. So, and with Tiuliulin, it's only 7 minutes for him at the UFC level. So these guys are averaging, around a 7.5 minute fight time between the two of them. They get the job done quickly. But they both land a lot of strikes. One of the plays that I made was on Prize Picks. We got a 20. Oh, I got a 25.5 entry. But it was actually 28.5. Now it's the Gregory Rodrigues significant strikes. Didn't I put that in? Please tell me I bet that. Okay, yeah, I did bet that. 25.5 significant strikes was the over-under for Gregory Rodrigues. I got that. It's up to 28.5 now. Still think it's a very good number, because he's landing 6.42 distance strikes per minute, and Denis Tiuliulin is absorbing 7.66. So at that rate, he only needs to fight for about 4 minutes to cover that if the fight is on the feet. If it goes to the ground, a little bit of a different story, but Rodrigues will wrestle a little bit, but he's not really getting a lot of control time. For a guy who's averaging 4.31 takedown attempts per 15 minutes and getting 2.3 of them, he's only controlling his opponents about 16.5% of the time. So, I think that this is going to be, contested on the feet, which means that Tiuliulin might be live early in the fight if Rodrigues chooses to do what we've seen him do over and over and over again, which is kind of choose to engage in a striking match with people that he could probably beat grappling. So laying juice on Gregory Rodrigues is a little bit nerve-wracking here, because I don't think we can guarantee that the dude is going to wrestle. And even if he does, will he kind of shore up that ability of his to control his opponents once he gets to the ground? Because it seems like he kind of like hunts for the submission and then loses position, and his opponents either reverse him or get back up every time he gets them down. So Gregory Rodrigues is attempting 0.57 submissions per 15 minutes, though. So that's fairly active. That's more than the divisional average.
Yeah, I'll be betting Rodrigues by submission, and I'm ready to be completely disappointed when he goes out there and stands and bang with Denis. But it kind of feels like the Blachowicz fight, where Blachowicz, he never wrestled, but I mean, it's a matchup where he should, and he did. Rodrigues, he never really wrestles, but anybody with half a brain can see that Denis's ground game is literally the hole in his game. Like, that's how he's lost like 80% of his fights, right? Like, all by sub and one knockout, right?
Yeah, I think it's 4 subs and 1 knockout loss for Tiuliulin, and that's in 7 professional losses. So he's out there getting finished.
Jay saying violence for sure. Yeah, the only problem with the under 1.5 is it is like I'm not sure if they think Rodrigues is like Terrence McKinney or what, but the under 1.5 is minus 165. Yuck. I think it probably hits, but I mean, if Rodrigues goes out there and strikes with him, like, it could go over 1.5.
Yeah, the under 1.5 is a 62% implied probability, but only 37% of middleweight fights go under 1.5 rounds. So you're overpaying by 25% when you compare that divisional benchmark of 37.3% to the price of the line, which is 62.3%. It's way too expensive. And only 55% of these guys' UFC fights have went under 1.5 rounds in a 9-fight sample size. So you're overpaying on that metric as well. Maybe close your eyes, bet the over 1.5 at plus 135. You're getting a big break in terms of 20% cheaper than what the divisional benchmark is.
Yep. I mean, I think it all comes down to the game plan of Rodrigues. If he grapples, I mean, we saw what Jung Young Park did to Denis. So It all comes down to the game plan. We'll see if he makes the right decision.
Yes.
All right, let's move on then to the next fight. We got Chris Weidman going against Brad Tavares. We got Weidman, 39 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. Tavares, 35 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach. We have Tavares is 4 years younger, 1-inch height disadvantage and a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Chris Weidman is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A submission win against Kelvin Gastelum, knockout loss against Jacare Souza, knockout loss against Dominic Reyes, decision win against Omari Akhmedov, and then a knockout loss against Uriah Hall. As far as Brad Tavares, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights as well. A knockout loss against Evan Shabazian, a decision win against Antonio Carlos Jr., decision win against Omari Akhmedov, a decision loss to Dricus du Plessis, and then a knockout loss to Bruno Silva. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised Chris Weidman's coming back for a couple of reasons actually. Obviously, the terrible injury that he suffered. You know, I really didn't think he was coming back from that. And on top of that, I already thought he was kind of on his way out. I already thought that was potentially his last fight against Uriah Hall. But yeah, I guess I was wrong, and he's coming back 2 years and 2 months later. Because prior to the Hall injury, I mean, he hadn't really looked good for a while. He got starched by Dominic Reyes. He got knocked out, I think, in the 3rd round by Jacare Souza. And even in the Omari Akhmedov fight, he looked bad in that fight. He was looking gassed in the 2nd round, but luckily for him, Omari Akhmedov has an even worse gas tank, so he was able to kind of fight through it. And Omari got even more tired than he was, and he was able to grease out a decision there. But the last time I was actually impressed by a Chris Weidman performance was back in 2017 at this point, where he went out there and submitted Kelvin Gastelum. So I think, Weidman is, definitely towards the end of his career. On top of that, he's taken a big layoff. He had a very, very bad injury. And on top of that, I mean, this is a pretty tough stylistic matchup. Brad Tavares, what he's very good at is his takedown defense, is some of the best takedown defense in the division. On paper, it's about 80%. Very good takedown defense. Very, very hard to control as well. If he gets taken down, he's popping back up. So I think Weidman is going to wrestle here. And I don't think he's going to have a lot of success taking down and holding down Brad Tavares. I think Brad Tavares is going to be the much tougher fighter, and it's not even close. I think Tavares is going to have the better cardio. I think it's a great matchup for Brad Tavares, which is crazy to say because I've never been high on Brad Tavares. I think I've picked against Brad Tavares more times than like any other fighter in the UFC, but I think this is a great matchup for him here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, pretty much the same as yours, man. I mean, this is not a forgiving sport. It's very hard at the age of 39 to make any kind of waves against anybody that's top 15, top 20 in any division. Add to that fact, I mean, look, even the great Anderson Silva, right? After he broke his leg in half, he never had one decent fight after that. He never looked good after that. Never looked like even a shadow of his old self. Now, Chris Weidman, before breaking his leg in half, already looked like a distant shadow of the fighter that he used to be. And now here he is, 2 years and 4 months layoff since snapping his leg in half on the first leg that he threw, or his first kick that he threw against Uriah Hall. And he's coming back to not fight like somebody like Omari Akhmedov, but a guy in Brad Tavares who's still fighting at a high level here. Weidman won minutes with his wrestling, guys. I mean, look, he won 78% of the control time positions that he's been in, 3.73 takedowns per 15 minutes on 9 attempts per 15 minutes. His striking was all right. He had 2 knockdowns, though, in 12 UFC fights. It's not like this dude, was out there just absolutely starching hose on the feet. So, I mean, what's Weidman going to do? I mean, your leg can break and it can heal. But I mean, you're not gonna be the same athlete that you were after that injury. And he's not 24; he's 39. I mean, he hasn't had a good win since 2017. When was the Gastelum win? 2018, 2017. 6 years ago was the last time that this guy fought at a high level. And look, I mean, he's out there getting starched by Dominic Reyes. He loses to Uriah Hall because he threw a naked low leg kick that he didn't set up and it got checked. I mean, he's not ready. This is not going to end well for Chris Weidman. He has no business being back in that cage at 39 years old. You don't come back from injuries like that at the age of 39. He was already on his way out. I don't know how this fight got sanctioned. I don't know what the fuck Chris Weidman's thinking. I don't know what his people are thinking. Who's letting him fight? This is a bad idea. And guess who's got really nasty low leg kicks, Brady?
I'm going to take a guess and say Brad Tavares.
Yeah, really bad, dude. This is not the fight that he wants. This could end really badly. We could see that leg put in half again. I don't want to see this fight. I hope Weidman pulls out and retires. This is a very bad idea.
Yeah, what's actually funny is I think the UFC is like trying to do Weidman a favor, giving him like the least dangerous guy in the division. But with that said, I think Tavares probably still can finish Chris Weidman here. So I was maybe thinking about getting a sneaky under 2.5 rounds, considering that, Brad Tavares doesn't finish anybody at all, and he doesn't really get finished, but they are all over it and much, much more. So apparently the over-under was at 2.5, and they actually pulled it off. They pulled it and set it at 1.5. So now the over-under is set at 1.5, which is just crazy to say in a Brad Tavares fight. But I think it has a lot to do with, Chris Weidman getting knocked out 6 times, Chris Weidman coming off of a very brutal injury, and Chris Weidman being 39 years old. So, I'll be looking at maybe some Brad Tavares finish props, late props, but I think they'll probably be all over those as well. Brad Tavares minus 265, Chris Weidman plus 225. I'm actually kind of surprised. A lot of people are betting Weidman this week, and I don't know. I don't really get it. I think it first and foremost, all the narrative things, and then second, I think it's a bad matchup to begin with.
I think it's a terrible matchup for him. Like you mentioned, the takedown defense. It's not like Chris Weidman is going to be fast and winning minutes on the feet with his striking. It's just not going to happen right now. So, yeah, man, this is a very strange fight. I mean, I think Tavares is going to wipe the floor with Weidman.
Yep, I think so as well. All right. All right. Mushroom saying smash the like. I agree. All right. Before we move on, I agree with Mushroom. Smash the like button. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes by the time we get out of here. And do you want to shout out again the Pub Sports Radio pick contest? Go check it out. Sign up if you have not signed up already. Every Saturday, winner gets $100. I mean, it's free $100. Each and every time. Looks like 94 participants last week. Let's see if we can get to 100 this week. That'd be very nice. So who won, by the way? Remdog. Shout out to Remdog for it looks like he got the win there, scoring 755. Iron Eagle in second with 745. Don't really recognize anybody else. I probably finished decent. Billy Briz, I see there. They guys got Slaughter. There I am. 605. Not great.
Where was I?
Admin scored 50. Admin, let's go.
Oh,
let's go.
Yeah, that's good.
Get it together. Preston. I don't see it, Weezy. Will Martin in the bill. Will Martin's in the. Yeah. There you go. We got Bill in there. A 2 cents in there. We got Clint up in there.
Easy there, 550. Just a knock above Danny there at 540 there, and then Tony Miggins edges me out by 5.
There you go. Heck yeah! So guys, check it out. Get yourself a free $100 there. All right. Yep, free $100. Sign up. It's free. Free to sign up. Free money. Nothing better than that, guys. All right. Here we go. When me and Brady agree on a confident pick, Tavares is a lock. I don't think he's a lock, but I like his chances. I'll say that. All right.
Let's like him too.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Marlon Vera going against Pedro Munhoz. We got Marlon Vera, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Pedro Munhoz, 36 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. We got Marlon Vera, 6 years younger, 2-inch height advantage, and a 5-inch reach advantage. Marlon Vera is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Davey Grant, knockout win against Frankie Edgar, decision win against Rob Font, knockout win against Dominic Cruz, and then a decision loss against Corey Sandhagen, where Marlon Vera decided he did not want to fight that night, which is weird for Marlon Vera. Pedro Munhoz, he is 2-2 and won no contest in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Jimmy Rivera, a decision loss against Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz, and no contest against Sean O'Malley, and then a decision win as an underdog against Chris Gutierrez. Yeah, I think this is a pretty close fight. I really do. So the thing about Marlon Vera always is this guy loses the first round all the time. I mean, like pretty much in every single fight, Marlon Vera loses the first round. Like, what is Marlon Vera? 20-8. If UFC fights were only 5 minutes, Marlon Vera would be like 2-26. I mean, this guy loses first rounds like it's his job. So right off the bat, I mean, when we're talking about laying chalk on him, why not live bet Marlon Vera after he loses the first round and get him down from like minus 200 on some books now to like maybe a pick 'em. And I did make a little meme. I don't typically do this, but I did make a fun meme. It's the meme where it's the guy where he's with his girlfriend or wife, and you can't really see it, but I'll explain it. And that's me right there, and I'm holding hands with the wife or girlfriend, and on the wife it says Marlon Vera minus 180, and I'm just ignoring her, and then I'm looking at the girl walking by, and it says live bet after round one. So just a fun meme. People like the memes nowadays. But yeah, I mean, if you like Marlon Vera, I mean, I think there's absolutely no point in betting him right now. Why not bet him after the first round? Because he will lose the first round. But I think Marlon Vera loses the first round and he wins the third round. I think it's going to come down to the second, Weezy. And I think we got a closer fight than this line does indicate. We were talking about last night. We were like, I think we like the over. I think we like the over 2.5 rounds. Well, guess what? Minus 290 for the over 2.5 rounds, which is the most chalked over on this card by a mile. And if you put it on last night's card, it would have been the most chalked over by a mile. So it's safe to say they're all over it.
Dude, like I was talking to Brady last night and I said, yeah, I want to see where the Munhoz Vera over opens. I was looking at my stats. I was looking at the benchmarks. I'm like, Brady, I think we might get this at like minus 150, minus 160. And he goes, no, dude, the bookies are going to be onto it. I'm like, Brady, I'm telling you, I'm looking at the analytics. We're going to get this at minus 150. The damn thing opens at minus 250. I was completely off about where it was going to be priced. We had no chance of hitting a good price on that. These are two of the most durable dudes on the entire planet. Marlon Vera has absorbed 1,350 significant strikes in the UFC. Pedro Munhoz has absorbed 1,223 significant strikes in the UFC. So when it combined 2,573 significant strikes absorbed, these guys have been knocked down. How many times?
Zero.
They have been knocked out. How many times? Zero. They have been finished. How many times? Zero. Dude, 58 professional fights. Neither one of these guys has ever been finished. We've never seen them dropped in the UFC. We've never seen them knocked out, never seen them submitted. They both could probably dive headfirst into a wood chipper and then come out the other end not bleeding. These guys are incredible. So it's going to be a fun fight. But the problem is Chito Vera, 4-8 in decisions overall. He's 3-7 in decisions in the UFC. Same thing with Munhoz. He's 4-7 in decisions in the UFC. So Munhoz isn't finishing Vera. Vera isn't finishing Munhoz. Unless one of these guys falls into a guillotine. That's the one thing that I could see. Maybe Munhoz jumps on a guillotine and then Vera has to tap. But it's kind of terrifying to lay juice on Marlon Vera knowing that he's not going to knock down Pedro Munhoz. He's not going to knock him out. He's not even probably going to have him in any trouble on the feet because Munhoz is very good in terms of managing range with those low leg kicks that he throws very regularly. I kind of like the plus money on Munhoz here, to be honest with you. Whoever you like in this fight, bet them to win by decision. You're going to get a little bit of a bump over the money line, and neither one of these guys is really getting finished. I just can't believe how on to that over the bookies were. I really thought that, we might open it at minus 150, might be able to jump on that for a big bet and then see it move. Dude, they opened it up flat out minus 250. You don't see overs in men's bantamweight fights opening at minus 175 or 200 either. No. Minus 250, and then it actually gets bet up to minus 295 is very, very incredible in my opinion. but I don't think we can count on either of these guys to win minutes on the ground. I think it's going to be on the feet. I think Munhoz is going to be a little more active. I think he'll probably be a little more defensively responsible. Maybe Vera will be landing the bigger shots. I don't know, man. I think the fight goes to decision, but I mean the bookies are already onto that, so I don't really know what to say here. The plus money on Munhoz, maybe Munhoz by decision at plus 225 or so would be a decent look.
Maybe. I mean, it's just this laying -1. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like, so like I said, he's going to lose the first round. That's a given. I mean, it's going to happen. And then on top of that, if we think this goes to the judges, more often than not, and it's highly favored to do so. So not only is Vera going to lose the first round, but it's going to be in the hands of guys like Sal D'Amato, Derek Clearly, and Adela Bird. So laying chalk on a close decision is not something I want to do. If anything, it is probably dog or pass. I was thinking maybe like the plus 3.5 point spread for Munhoz because I think he wins the first. So at least, but that's got to be like something crazy, I think. So, how about Munhoz inside the distance, no action? I don't know. I just can't picture a world where either of these guys get finished. I don't know how it really happens.
Yeah, I mean, like when I saw this fight like 3 weeks ago, I just said, "Oh my god, over." Where are they going to open? Like I got excited. I'm like, you can't finish Vera. You can't finish Munhoz. They don't let you bring a steel chair in there anymore. They don't let you put barbed wire on your gloves anymore. So this one's going the distance. But I was just really hoping to see a bettable line, and I got nothing even close to a bettable line.
Fight goes to split. Yeah, I think so. But every time I bet the split, it either finishes
29-28 unanimous.
Yeah, it either finishes or it's literally a split and they just like rob me. Like I bet a split in the Douglas Silva de Andrade Cody Stamann fight, which was the splittiest split type fight you'll ever see. And a lot of people thought Stamann won. And then all of a sudden it's unanimous for Douglas Silva de Andrade. So I think I'm like 0 for 8 on split decisions. So I would be like 2 units richer this year if I never bet them. So I just stopped betting them.
Yeah, it's a tough bet. I mean, it's a very stylistic bet, and it's very niche. So those are never easy to hit. When you hit them, it feels great. But, I hate putting it in the hands of the judges. And when you're doing unanimous or split decision, you're literally saying, like, this bet only cashes if it goes to these corrupt judges. So that's an even more terrifying bet for me than most.
Yeah, every bet that has to deal with the judges is just a terrifying bet. Just an absolute terrifying bet. All right, Weezy, let's move on to the next fight. So Batista, we're hoping he gets opponent. Maybe Randy Costa threw his name into the hat. I think it'd be a fun fight, but I think it shouldn't probably be sanctioned. And I was kind of looking through other bantamweights to see who might want to step in. I was thinking maybe like Tamir Valiev. Maybe they bring Tamir Valiev back to take on Mario Batista, giving him another shot in the UFC. But yeah, a lot of people booked already. So I don't know who they're going to bring in. Maybe they'll bring in like a new guy we never heard of. They tend to do that quite often.
Yeah, for an opponent like Bautista, I think Bautista is just going to have to be very careful. I mean, I put myself into those fighters' shoes where you're a week out. You've been training for a boxer in Cody Garbrandt, and now they're like, hey, why don't you fight this guy? And you're like, whoa, no, that's a completely different stylistic matchup, So we'll see what Bautista can find, but he's not exactly high enough up on the ladder that they're going to bring in a Chris Matinho for him that he can just shave ass against.
Yeah.
Or what was that Valentine Woodburn guy that fought? Did he fight Bo Nickel? Who did he fight?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't make any sense, that they're bringing in somebody that's that low level. So we'll see what happens there. Bautista's got to be careful though. He's got to be very careful. He's training for a boxer. You don't want to be taking, like a submission grappler or a wrestler when you were supposed to fight Garbrandt.
Yeah, we'll see. They typically like to announce these short notice fights on Monday night, maybe. So maybe Monday night we'll see something, but I don't know. All right, but we'll move on to Ian Garry taking on a short notice Neil Magny. He was supposed to fight Jeff Neal. Really, really wanted to see that fight. I think Jeff Neal being out of the card, really made the card take a hit. And but anywho, we got Neil Magny stepping in. We got Magny, 36 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Ian Garry, 25 years old, 6'3" with a 74-inch reach. Garry, 11 years younger, same height. Magny with a massive 6-inch reach advantage. Neil Magny, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Max Griffin, a submission loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, a submission win against D-Rod, a submission loss to Gilbert Burns, and then a split decision win against Phil Rowe. As far as Ian Garry, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Jordan Williams, won that fight by first round KO. Won a decision against Gabe Green and Darian Weeks, knocked out Song Kanan, and then knocked out Daniel Rodrigues, his best win to date. Very good win, very good performance, and very good knockout for Ian Garry. So yeah, Magny, I don't really like this matchup for him. The Ian Garry line has just gotten steamed all day. I mean, it was like minus 298 on DraftKings. Now it's approaching like minus 400 something. And I think it's a pretty bad matchup for Magny. Like the one thing I worry about with Garry is obviously the striking defense, the way he kind of leaves his shin up in the air, hands down type style. And he got caught against Song Kanan. He was getting pieced up by Jordan Williams, but I don't really think that's going to come into play here. Magny's not really, knocking down anybody. I didn't like how Magny looked in his fight against Phil Rowe. Like Magny went like life and death with Phil Rowe, and the fight went to decision. It was a very close fight. I didn't like how Magny was reacting to the big shots of Rowe. Magny was like 0 for 3 on takedowns, which is weird because a gust of wind takes down Phil Rowe. So I'm not sure what was going on with Magny in that fight. Was he hurt? Because I was really expecting Magny to like dominate that fight. A lot of people were. A lot of people bet Magny, and it was like super close for no reason. So, I mean, if that same Magny shows up, he gets styled on here by Ian Garry. So, yeah, short notice, Magny. Think it's a tough spot. Ian Garry's the biggest favorite on the card. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I remember when the Magny line dropped against Phil Rowe. I messaged you when I said, man, dude, they got Magny minus 120, Rowe minus 110. What do you think? And you were like, I don't know. I think I like Rowe. I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about max betting Magny here. He's more experienced. He's going to be the only guy that's ever been as long as Phil Rowe. He's the better wrestler when it comes to Phil Rowe. He's got the better minute winning potential. He's fought the way better brand of competition, way more experience. I'm just like, I don't know where Rowe wins this fight. And then you watch the fight and you're like, dude, what is Neil doing? How is he not taking this guy down? How is he not winning minutes on the ground against this guy? Magny's really kind of pretty good everywhere. But if you don't have a giant hole in your game, he's going to have a hard time finding ways to win minutes. And it's just looking like it's becoming that type of situation here. He's going to be 10 years older than Ian Garry. But he does have a 6-inch reach advantage and a huge experience advantage and a huge strength to schedule advantage. Just the wins are way better for Magny. The overall competition that he's fought. Neil Magny's such a G. 30 UFC fights, Brady, 30 of them. He's got 21 UFC wins. That's amazing. To get 10 UFC wins is an amazing accomplishment. This guy's got 21 of them. So you have to be careful when you're betting against a veteran like Neil Magny. You look at the matchups, right? Jordan Williams, tough southpaw striker. Darian Weeks, kind of like a low-level opponent with some solid wrestling. Gabe Green, kind of like a high-pace guy. Good grappler, but, not spectacular anywhere, Gabe Green. Song Kanan, serious power in his right hand and not much else. And then Daniel Rodrigues, a good boxer with good takedown defense and solid submissions, right? But Magny is like the most complete opponent that he's faced. And the thing about Magny is he brings that experience, he brings that conditioning, and he brings the IQ to be able to kind of take you to where you're weakest. So he's a tough opponent for a lot of fighters. But the thing about Garry is, where is he weak? I mean, like, he doesn't really have anything in his game, Brady, where you're saying like, oh, well, this is what you got to do if you're going to beat Ian Garry. Ian Garry, on all the regional scene footage, you saw people not wanting to strike with him. And you just see him stopping takedowns, having the conditioning to be able to stop them over and over and over again. His opponent gets tired before he does. He finds the big shot and it's over. The guy is very, very well-rounded, very well-tested, great conditioning. So I just don't know if Neil's going to be able to find the chink in the armor that allows him to be able to win some minutes in this spot. So I got to go with Ian Garry here. But I did see a bet that I liked, Brady, and I hit it small. It was a 1-unit bet. minus 175 for the over 1.5 rounds in this fight. Let me just give you some quick numbers on that. Neil Magny has went over 1.5 rounds, 21 of 27 fights in the UFC. And Ian Garry, it's 3 of 5. So of their 32 combined UFC fights, 24 of them, or 75%, have went over 1.5 rounds, and we're only paying 63.64% on the line at minus 175. I think it moved to minus 180, but it's still definitely bettable there, and it's still a trifecta bet on my prop template. So that means it's underpriced and a good value.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I called you today because I saw on Fight Odds they had the under at 2.5 rounds, like under 2.5 plus 135. I was like, wow, I like that. And then to come to find out, it was actually the over under was set at 1.5, and the over was like minus 175. So yeah, I agree. I think it does go over. I think Garry probably does get Magny out of there late. And yeah, not sure if I'll be betting this fight. I think Ian Garry, was a fine parlay piece, but what is he at now? I mean, he's gotten steamed all day. What is he? Minus 420, minus 440. And I think it's going to keep getting wider and wider probably throughout the week.
Yeah, if you're part of that crew that says that, hey, just the bet just got to cash, that we don't care about value, any of that, yeah, then go out there and bet, Ian Garry, because he probably gets the job done. 10 years younger, more dangerous pretty much everywhere the fight goes. He's at an experience disadvantage here, at a strength of schedule disadvantage, but this kid looks really good.
Yep, he absolutely does. I was going to bring something up. Let me see. What was I going to bring up? I forget. It was kind of important though. Was it this? Was it this? Show this again? No, it wasn't that. I don't know. I usually have something to kind of bring up, maybe a video or something, but nothing. I guess we move on. Maybe we'll come back to mine. Sometimes I get off track and I forget. So I guess we could just move on to the co-main event, Weezy.
It's a great fight, man. Zhang Lemos, I can't wait for this one. These two are killers.
Yeah, this fight is amazing. So we got Zhang Weili going against Amanda Lemos for the strawweight title. We got Zhang Weili, 33 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach. Amanda Lemos, 36 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach. Zhang Weili, 3 years younger, same height, and then Lemos with a 2-inch reach advantage. Zhang Weili is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Joanna and Jacek, a knockout loss against Rose, a decision loss against Rose, a knockout win against Joanna, and then a submission win against Carla Esparza. As far as Amanda Lemos, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She knocked out Montserrat Ruiz in the first round. It got a decision win against Angela Hill. Got submitted by Jessica Andrade and won by submission against Michelle Waterson, and then knocked out Marina Rodrigues in her last fight. So what stuck out to me right away, and this line has came down a lot, Weezy. So Zhang Weili opened up minus 550. She's currently minus 300. Amanda Lemos opened up plus 400, currently plus 250. So money came in on Lemos, and I was kind of thinking to myself, I mean, if this was, who had the better haircut, Weezy, I think this would be a straight pick'em. But in terms of the fights, we have Zhang Weili as a pretty big favorite here. So what are your thoughts on this co-main event? This is probably my favorite fight on the card.
Yeah, this one kind of comes down to what Weili Zhang's game plan is going to be here too, because I feel like if she just stands in front of Amanda Lemos and strikes, that this is anybody's fight. Amanda Lemos has got crazy power for this division, Brady. 5 knockdowns in 9 UFC fights, 301 significant strikes, 5 knockdowns landed. That's a 1.66% knockdown percentage for her significant strikes landed, but it's a 2.36% knockdown percent on the distance strikes that are landed. And she's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. So I think that, whether Weili wrestles or not is going to be huge here. Hey, there she is. That's a much better. Is that Tatsuro Taira?
What? No, it's Zhang Weili.
I know, I'm just joking. There's a joke I was going to tell. I am not telling it, not on the air, but this thing is going to be close on the feet, dude. I think that Amanda will be the one landing the bigger shots. The question is does Weili wrestle? Because Amanda can be exploited on the ground. We can take her down. You can win some minutes off of her there. And Weili's ground game has really looked nasty as of late, especially in the Esparza and the Jacek fights the last 2 times around. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. But Amanda Lemos is somebody that I don't think we can count on for 5-round cardio. Zhang, I believe we can. We've seen her pace that. We've seen her go the full 5 rounds in a war against Jacek, in a war against Rose Namajunas. And then she's getting a bunch of finishes as well. So I love the fight to finish inside the distance, Brady. We got the under 3.5 at plus money earlier on this week. But I'm not laying that on Weili Zhang. What would be an interesting prop to see this week is what FanDuel has the 1-2-3 on Lemos at. Because if you can get that at like plus 250, plus 300, I kind of feel like that's her win condition. I don't think she can win 3 out of 5 rounds versus Weili Zhang. So I kind of feel like Weili will get better as the fight goes on if she's not absorbing big strikes on the feet from Amanda. And if Weili goes out there wrestling in round 1, I think that she can take enough out of the gas tank of Amanda Lemos to wear her down, maybe finish her late in the second, finish her in the third on the ground after she kind of empties that gas tank. But this comes down to whether Weili wants to stand in front of her early in the fight or not, because if she does, I think she's making a really big mistake.
Yep. It's such a great fight, and it's, by the way, I agree with a lot of people in the chat. Zhang Weili does look very cute in that picture. You typically, I'd say handsome, but she's looking more cute in that picture, I'd say.
Yeah, dude, because like she looks like she's, like in a lot of other pictures, she does not photograph well. That's a good picture of her, but Weili's a badass,
she is.
She is a badass. She is a mean woman when she gets in there in the cage. And when she gets on top of her opponent and starts really working that ground and pound, she's not cute. She is mean. She's nasty. I love that coat. Holy shit. I love that
coat. That's a good coat.
That's badass right there. Oh,
yep.
Man. And she's got some makeup on there. She's also got some scar tissue. I think that's a great picture, man. That's a very good one.
Yeah. Interesting has her. Yeah, I mean, we like to attack all angles here and dive as deep as possible on Stat Digger. So yeah, we bring up the Instagram, and yeah, I think it's something that people don't talk about enough. I mean, that jacket might have to factor into my handicapping, Weezy.
That's clearly crushed velvet, and that coat is clearly custom. That is absolutely great stuff right there.
It really is. But yeah, I'm with you on the violence. I smashed it myself. Shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook, man. Getting some props out. I love when, DraftKings or FanDuel, they get these props out early and they price them like very poorly. So the under 3.5 was like plus 100. The fight doesn't go was like minus 150, and they just got completely smashed, and they will continue to get smashed. I'm with you. I think it's Lemos 1-2-3 or Zhang Weili. I think it honestly could be early as well because she's such a killer. But if it gets to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, it heavily does favor her. Another live bet spot. Like, why lay minus 300 on Zhang Weili when you could probably get her at a better price after the first round? Because Lemos is very good in the first 5 minutes. So maybe a live bet spot, something to think about.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that would be a great way to get Weili just a little bit cheaper than what you would have gotten her before the fight started, especially if Amanda has some early success in the fight, which is usually when she's going to do her best work. God, is she dangerous early in fights as well. So, yeah, I love violence here. If you were lucky enough to get on it early when DraftKings got those lines out early and mispriced them, then good on you. I only went 1 unit, total coward move. That should have been like a 3-unit bet easily, but it is what it is. At least we got 1 unit on it at plus 100. I think Weili gets the job done probably round 3. I'm thinking maybe like a round 3 knockout for Weili, but I think Amanda Lemos is very, very live, and especially at this price, there's going to be some props that are sticking out and have a lot of value.
Yep, I agree. Mike's saying, why so many women's fights? I think all 3 female fights are very good this week.
I couldn't agree more, Brady. They're really fantastic fights. I mean, the title fight's awesome, but you got Karine Silva and you got Natalia Silva, who are 2 huge stars of this flyweight division, up-and-coming stars, fighting really good opponents. So I love all 3 women's fights on this card, for sure.
All right, I want to set the record straight. First of all, are you Sean V or Sean K? I mean, are these guys the same guy? Because I mean,
I don't think so.
Are they? Let me know in the chat, because I mean, it's every week. I mean, I'm trying to figure out. But he's saying, "Bruh, Willie is explosive as hell in round one. What do you mean it has to be?" I never said it has to be late. I literally didn't say that. I said if it gets late, it favors her, but it could be early as well. You need to listen better, Sean K or Sean. I don't know which Sean you are, but let's open up your ears. I said it could be early as well. I just said it favors if it gets to the third, fourth, and fifth, it favors Weili. Let's get it together.
Yeah. I think Amanda's just, we've seen Amanda slow down late in fights. We really haven't seen that out of Weili. So, we definitely think if this fight gets past the second round, that's when you're going to really see Weili kind of take over the fight.
Yeah, I've had it. I ask for confirmation every time Sean K comes in here. Like, are they the same person or not? And finally, we get some confirmation with Sean V. They're not the same person. Thank you. So Weezy, they are not the same. Maybe they are the same person. I don't know. Maybe
Sean V could be lying, but I mean, I have a feeling like they are different people. I do feel that.
All right. My bad. I mean, it's a little frustrating trying to figure out which one's which. So I didn't mean to lash out. It's been a long day. So so yeah, I think we should move on to the main event. We have Aljamain Sterling going against Sean O'Malley, Bantamweight title. I'm really, really looking forward to this fight here. We got Aljamain Sterling, 34 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Sean O'Malley, 28 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. O'Malley, 6 years younger, with a 4-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Aljamain Sterling, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. First round sub against Corey Sandhagen, DQ win against Petr Yan, decision win against Petr Yan, a knockout win against TJ Dillashaw, and then a decision win against Henry Cejudo. As far as Sean O'Malley, he has 4-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Thomas Almeida, Chris Montino, Rolian Paiva, no contest against Pedro Munhoz, and then a very close decision win against Petr Yan. Sterling is a pretty big favorite here, and I have some serious concerns about what happens if Aljamain Sterling is able to not only take this fight down to the mat, but take the back of Sean O'Malley. Like, if Sterling takes down O'Malley and gets to the back, I really do feel like the fight could be over shortly after. I mean, Sterling, I don't think he has the best wrestling in the world, but it's gotten a lot better throughout the years. His grappling is better than it's ever been. I mean, he went out there and subbed Corey Sandhagen in like a minute or two. I mean, that was so impressive. I mean, if Sterling is an absolute savage on the mat, got Petr Yan into some very bad spots as well. I think if Sterling gets his fight down to the mat, gets on top of O'Malley, there's going to be serious problems early on. So O'Malley's going to have to do everything in his power to not only stuff takedowns, but be very careful when getting back up, not giving up your back. Aljamain Sterling's no joke on the mat. But yeah, we got a striker versus grappler matchup where Sterling's going to absolutely be looking to grapple, and Sean O'Malley's a very, very good striker. We saw that in the Yan fight. Like, Sean O'Malley landed this knee against Petr Yan that would have probably knocked out 3/4 of the division. I'm not sure how Petr Yan ate that. It like opened up like a big gash in his head, but it was a nasty, nasty knee. This guy O'Malley's no joke on the feet. So striker versus grappler matchup, Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I went back and I watched that O'Malley Yan fight because I had a max bet on Yan's finish only prop for that fight, and I was terrified because O'Malley landed a big shot in round 2, and he landed that big knee in round 3. And man, they were nasty shots. I went back and I watched that fight. I was like, holy shit, Sean O'Malley, I think he won that fight, dude. I think he won the third, and I think he won the first. And he had a big moment in the second as well. It was a great fight, though, but Sean just did such great work at range. He was so busy. He was so accurate, and he managed distance so well. All that being said, I think Aljo is going to go out there and sub this dude in the very first round. When you watch the Sandhagen fight, and the Sandhagen fight is almost an identical stylistic matchup to this fight, right? A long, rangy striker, not a one-punch guy, but a volume guy. Accurate, great footwork, great movement, diversity of attack. What did Aljo do? He sprinted at Corey Sandhagen. He did not take a backward step for the entire fight, and he got to his back 15 seconds into the fight, Brady. How does this go any different? Sean O'Malley is not going to catch Aljo on the way in and drop him and finish him with one shot. And if he doesn't have the ability to do that, Aljo's getting to this dude's back. He's getting there quickly. I'm going to be betting Aljo round one sub, Aljo inside the distance. I think he's going to make this look easy. I hate the stylistic matchup here. I don't think Aljo is going to take a backward step. I don't think Sean's going to be able to get his distance striking going. I think that this is going to be a grappling match, and I think Sean O'Malley's going to get subbed in the first round.
Yep, I think that's a very viable outcome. I think there's a lot of great ways to attack this fight. Like for me, I already have a big bet on the fight doesn't go to decision, but it looks like everybody has a bet on the fight doesn't go to decision. And just because it makes a lot of sense. I mean, striker versus grappler matchup, even if Aljo gets the fight down to the mat, I think he could sub, Sean O'Malley early. And if this fight does get extended, third, fourth, and the fifth round, I think Sean O'Malley might have some opportunities later. So I'm with you. Sterling round 1, round 2 sub, but I think, O'Malley 3, 4, 5 round props could very well be in play. But the thing I'm putting my money on is the violence aspect of things. The fight doesn't go to decision. I think somebody's getting served here at some point in this fight. Sterling early, O'Malley late potentially. But I like violence in this one. I'm not as confident as you in Sterling. I'm actually picking O'Malley for the upset, but I'm fully aware if this fight hits the mat in the first round and he gets his back taken, the fight is probably over. So yeah, should be a very fun main event, but I do like violence in both of the main event and co-main event this week.
Yeah, I think both of those fights finish inside the distance. And yeah, if Aljo does, like for instance, because we are in the big cage, what if Sean does show really fantastic footwork, really great lateral movement, and Aljo can't cut off the cage? Yeah, then we could see Aljo like get desperate shooting in and walk into a knee or walk into a big uppercut or just a big straight right or left. I think that could be a little more viable as the fight goes on. But dude, I mean, like when you look at the striking metrics, Brady. I mean, this is a striker versus grappler matchup, but I mean, Aljo's metrics are almost as good as Sean's. I mean, Sean's got a 4.81 distance striking differential, which is phenomenal. It's unheard of. But look at Aljo's. It's 2.5. It's very good. 45% accuracy, 63% defense. While O'Malley's like a tick better every place else, there's really not that big of a difference here. And there's only a 1-inch reach advantage here for Sean O'Malley, which is something he's used to having a much bigger reach advantage in the bantamweight division. So, yeah, I think that this will be a little bit closer than everybody thinks on the feet. But I think Aljamain Sterling's pressure, if he winds up fighting the same game plan that he did in the Sandhagen fight, I think he's going to make this look easy.
Yeah, Sterling does have good numbers, but a lot of that came from the Munhoz fight when he went absolutely berserk. 174 significant strikes in 3 rounds against Pedro.
He looked great in that fight,
yeah,
dude. He was so in and out, cutting angles all over the place. And one my favorite part about that fight was Longo and Sarah in the corner of Aljo. Aljo comes back after round 1, and Longo goes, "That's a perfect fucking round, Aljo. 2 more of those, baby." Longo and Sarah are the best cornermen in the UFC. And it was just, I mean, it was a great striking performance by Aljo against Pedro Munhoz and a great cornering performance. If you watch that on UFC Fight Pass, where you won't have to watch the ESPN Plus commercials in between rounds, you get to see some great corner work and some hilarious stuff from Matt and Ray there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I guess we're cutting it short. I mean, typically like to hit the 2-hour mark, but we only have like 9 fights to talk about. So, any other final thoughts or anything else you want to chat about before we head out?
Let's see here. I mean, we want to just tell them with the bets that we got. I mean, I know I'm on the under 3.5 rounds in the Zhang Lemos fight at plus 100. I'm on the over 1.5 rounds in the Magny fight at minus 175. I'm on the under 2.5 rounds in the Karine Silva Marina Moroz fight at plus money. And I've got 1 unit on the Marina Moroz money line at plus 150.
Put on the wig. Hey, next week, the wig will be on, and I am looking forward to it. And I have an extra special surprise for y'all next week as well. Yeah, I like Marlon's in the main event, the co-main event, and then the Munhoz fight as well. So I'm on a lot of the same spots as you, Weezy. And I'm not sure, is O'Malley a purple belt?
I
I'm
think
not.
so.
Purple
Yeah,
belt.
I think he's a purple belt. He showed pretty good defensive grappling in the Jan fight, but Jan's back takes and Aljo's back takes are completely different. And that grappling style where dudes get to your back, they don't have to be as good of a wrestler if that's their intention right off the bat. There's other ways to get there without shooting single and double legs, and Aljo's an absolute master at it.
He's a brown belt. Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't even look. All I know is I think if Aljo gets the fight to the mat, he's probably in trouble. No matter what belt he is. Josh Parisian's a black belt, right? So no, O'Malley's grappling is good, but just Aljo's grappling is incredible.
Yeah, that's how Aljo gets the job done, and he always has. He's the funk master. He goes out there, he gets to your back. He's very unorthodox with what he does. If he gets high on your back, he starts going for that Sulayev stretch, which is a terrifying submission. So yeah, he's a very difficult guy to deal with, and his back takes are next level.
Yeah, then give Weezy I don't think Weezy would want to wear this wig. But
no, I got a beautiful head of hair already, Brady. I can just
exactly.
I don't know why wear a wig when you got all this already, right? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
It's God's gift.
All right. It sure is. All right. We did it, Weezy. We went through all 9 or 10 fights. I think we talked about 10. And then there's going to be adding the Bantamweight tough finale fight. And then they're also going to be adding maybe a fight for Mario Batista if anybody has the balls to accept that fight. But Weezy, let people know your plans for this week for some content for UFC 292.
Yeah, so Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, we'll be doing Just a Tip with Uncle Weezy on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. Wednesday, Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show, 8 o'clock Central Time. I'll do an Ask Weezy, maybe 10 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday night. And then over the next 24 hours or so, I'm trying to put the finishing touches on my prize picks template, which will also have underdog and bet online, significant strike props, takedown props, fantasy score props, and fight time props, all on the same template, where we are going to redo the show probability to not just include timelines, but also to include significant strike props, takedown props, and fantasy score props, so that we can all find ways to stack cashed tickets like flapjacks, whether it be on against our bookies or on prize picks or underdogs. So I'm going to be working on that. Hopefully we'll be able to do a probability show at some point this week, Brady, with a finished prize picks template.
Heck yeah. Looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll see what we'll talk about it. We can figure something out. But yep, we did it, everybody. I did already post my full card breakdown for UFC 292, and then I'll be getting out Contender Series tomorrow in the afternoon. And then other than that, we'll see you Wednesday for the DFS show. Best of luck, everybody. We'll talk to you soon, and see you later. Something